In the captivating case of Suzanne von Richthofen, Brazil found itself drawn into a tale of wealth, betrayal, and tragedy. Suzanne, a young woman from a privileged background, became the central figure in a shocking crime that sent shockwaves through the nation. As the story unfolds, delve into the complex layers of Suzanne's involvement in a meticulously planned murder, exposing the dark secrets hidden beneath the glamorous facade of high society. Prepare to be gripped by a true tale that explores the boundaries of ambition, greed, and the chilling consequences of a life derailed by twisted desires. Today we are going to discuss a well-known case that caused a lot of controversy in the past and is still a topic of discussion 20 years later. The events of this case were shocking and had a strong impact on people, especially when they found out that the person responsible was a woman. So we will explore the story of the infamous blonde with evil intentions. Suzanne von Richthofen was born in São Paulo, Brazil in November 1983. Her father was a German engineer, and her mother was a Brazilian psychiatrist with Lebanese roots. She has a younger brother named Andreas, who was born in 1987, making him 4 years younger than her. The family had a wonderful life and were considered wealthy, with an estimated fortune of $5.5 million. Suzanne went to a high school in Germany and later studied law at a Catholic university in Brazil. There were no issues within the family, and everyone was happy. In 1999, Suzanne started practicing a Brazilian martial art called jiu-jitsu. During her training at a club, she met a man named Daniel Crever. They started off as friends, but their relationship escalated and Daniel became her boyfriend. At first, Suzanne's parents were aware of their relationship and accepted it. However, over time, they changed their minds after discovering that Daniel was unemployed, not pursuing education, involved in drugs, and generally troubled. They realized he had negative qualities and began urging Suzanne to end her relationship with him. Despite their pleas, Suzanne resisted and her connection with Daniel became even stronger. This situation continued until July 2002, when Suzanne's family went on vacation. During that time, Daniel moved in and lived with her for a whole month until her family returned. When they came back, Suzanne asked her family to buy her and Daniel a house to live in separately. However, her father promptly refused, saying she needed to find and finance her own place to live. Her family continued to pressure her to leave Daniel as they were unhappy with their relationship. The harassment persisted until October 31, 2002. On that day, Suzanne, who had blonde hair, engaged in various wicked actions. It is important to note that she was only 19 years old, or perhaps just shy of turning 19 by a month, while her younger brother was 15 years old. What is relevant is that on the evening of October 31st, Suzanne took her younger brother with her and asked him to join her at an amusement center. She instructed him to stay there, have fun with his friends, and enjoy himself. She returned home with Daniel and his brother, Christian, who was 26 years old. Before Daniel and Christian entered the house, Suzanne went in first and deactivated all the alarms and surveillance cameras. Then, she went to her parents' bedroom to make sure they were sound asleep. Once she confirmed her family was asleep and the cameras were not recording, Daniel and Christian joined her. While Suzanne stayed in the living room, Daniel and Christian went to her parents' room. Suzanne had a piece of iron with her, which they used to murder her family. At first, they hit the victims on the head with the iron, but this did not kill them. It did cause a lot of pain, but it was not fatal. Then, Daniel went to the bathroom to get a damp towel, which he used to smother Suzanne's parents as they started screaming, but this method also failed. Frustrated with their inability to achieve their desired outcome, Daniel returned to the kitchen and took a bowl, which they used to suffocate the victims with water. Unfortunately, Suzanne's father died in these circumstances, but her mother is still alive and the culprits have not been successful in killing her yet. In order to complete their terrible act, they used a plastic bag to suffocate the mother until she died. Once they were sure that their victims were dead, Susanna went outside to personally confirm that their plan had been carried out successfully. After that, they continued with the second part of their evil plan, which involved manipulating the crime scene inside the house to make it look like a burglary committed by thieves, specifically targeting the perpetrators of the initial crime. They started by collecting the money in the house and taking it with them. Then they scattered papers on the floor and deliberately created disorder in the house. When the police arrived and saw the chaotic state of the residence, they concluded, It seems likely that a burglar was there, searching for money before quickly fleeing. As planned, they purposely made a mess, but unfortunately, they forgot some important items in the house. Specifically, they left behind their mobile phone, firearm, and personal belongings. To keep up the deception, Daniel and Susanna decided to book a hotel room while Christian went to a restaurant for a meal. At 3 o'clock, Susanna left the hotel and went to where she had left her younger sibling, bringing him back home. On the other hand, Daniel returned to his own house when everything appeared to be fine. Upon reaching their residence, both Susanna and her little brother were shocked to discover that their entire family had tragically died. They immediately contacted the police and informed them about the incident. Fortunately, the police turned out to be smarter than the culprits. After arriving at the house and conducting their investigation, they suspected that one of the people living there was the culprit. This suspicion stemmed from the fact that only the residents could turn off the alarms and cameras, and the disorderly state of the papers and mess suggested a purposefully concealed chaos. Their suspicions of Susanna increased as she showed no emotion towards her parents' deaths. Furthermore, she shamefully celebrated her birthday only 3 days after their passing. As a result, the investigators started questioning her credibility and focused on her during the inquiry. They noticed that she, along with Daniel and his brother, were spending large amounts of money in cash, indicating a sudden influx of money. The investigation led to the arrest of 3 people, and Susanna promptly confessed to all the charges. The entire investigation concluded within a week due to Susanna's sudden admission of guilt after having a breakdown. The news caused a major stir in Brazil because it was unexpected, especially coming from Susanna, who had never experienced any family problems before. She had a privileged lifestyle and attended prestigious schools. No one could have predicted that she would engage in such behavior. At the same time, some individuals began showing sympathy towards her and claimed that she was just a 19-year-old woman manipulated by her boyfriend, who orchestrated the scheme either to get her money or seek revenge since her family wanted to separate them. In 2006, 4 years after the crime, the final court session took place. Susanna claimed that Daniel and his brother were the ones behind the planning and execution of the crime, distancing herself from any involvement. However, Daniel and his brother stated that they only acted upon Susanna and her brother's request, with Susanna being the one who initiated the plan. Ultimately, Susanna and Daniel were found guilty of plotting and committing a deliberate murder, resulting in a 40-year prison sentence. Additionally, Daniel's brother was convicted of participating in a conspiracy against the victims and received a 38-year prison sentence. After Susanna's imprisonment, she made several attempts to change the verdict and challenge it to improve her situation, but each time her plea was denied. In 2011, her brother sued her to claim her share of the inheritance, and he succeeded.
Your subscription and engagement are essential for the growth of my channel. I value your feedback and suggestions, which will help shape future content and make it more relevant to your interests.
For viewers of the crime story revolving around Suzanne von Richthofen in Brazil, here's a short advice. Seek a balanced perspective. Remember that crime stories often focus on specific aspects for entertainment purposes. Make an effort to gather information from reliable sources and consider different viewpoints to form a comprehensive understanding. Avoid glorifying or empathizing with the crime. While it's natural to be intrigued by criminal narratives, it's important to maintain a critical mindset. Avoid glorifying or sympathizing with the criminal acts committed, and instead, focus on understanding the consequences and impact on the victims and society. Reflect on the broader issues. Crime stories can shed light on larger societal problems. Take the opportunity to reflect on issues such as family dynamics, mental health, social inequality, or the legal system. Use these stories as catalysts for discussions about necessary improvements and reforms. Respect the privacy of those involved. Remember that crime stories involve real people who have experienced traumatic events. Respect their privacy and avoid engaging in invasive behaviors or discussions that could further harm or exploit them. Take away valuable lessons. Use the story as a learning experience. Look for lessons to apply in your own life, such as the importance of empathy, communication, or early intervention in preventing similar tragedies. Remember, consuming crime stories responsibly involves maintaining a balanced and empathetic perspective while prioritizing the well-being and dignity of those affected by the events.